Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
To Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. And now we are joined by our good friend, Sir Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. How are you, sir?
Good, Jim. How are you?
I cannot complain. Just waiting for this snow to get the heck out of here, man. I thought we were done with that stuff.
It's been a long winter. There's no doubt about that. Hopefully,
Yeah.
weren't the baseball teams supposed to play home games this week?
Yeah. I'm like, how do they ever even think about planning that stuff? I'm like, in February. Are you kidding me? Do you not realize where you are? I didn't even, baseball was not even on my mind as a kid in February.
Not in the Midwest for sure. Yeah, got to be south. You got to go out of town to play. But yeah, I woke up this morning. We got more snow down here. We've had snow pretty much on the ground except for maybe 10 days since the first of the year.
Yeah, we were supposed to get another couple of inches, and I assume we did. I've not been out of the studio to see yet, but we'll certainly find out. But I think that the warmer weather is on the way, luckily, and it's certainly heating up in the Big Ten. I've talked about that earlier. The Big Ten race is fun if you're a Michigan State, or even a Wisconsin fan. Purdue, not so much, as they are slowly sliding out of that contention now at 2.5 games behind, or a game, whatever they are, 11-5, while Michigan is 11-2. So 2 games back. I don't know. I can't do the math.
It's 2 overall, but 3 in the loss column. It's hard to get those back.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially when you only have
5 to go,
4 or 5 games to play. Ironically, Michigan State played each other twice in this short period of frame. That was some great scheduling by the Big Ten.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Michigan State, Indiana beating them becomes the story that end up costing them the championship.
Yeah. So it's amazing that Indiana, and they can still play spoiler. They can play spoiler with Purdue to really put a complete quash on any hopes that they might have, not only on their Big Ten title race, but this is costing them a seed line.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting that I think before the season it was considered fairly wide open. What a lot of people are still picking Purdue, I guess, to still win, and Indiana was in the top 3 or 4, and Michigan State, I guess, was up there, but Michigan and Wisconsin not considered to be up there. Wisconsin took a tremendous hit in the transfer portal, and Greg Gard doesn't get enough love or respect for what he's done because they're really good. They're up to the top. They're in the top 10 in KenPom ratings, and they've had some impressive one-sided victories recently.
Yes, sir, it is. And Indiana has, ironically, they have played Michigan State, Purdue, Maryland, and UCLA, for that matter, all very well. Could have won those games. Wisconsin's one that is in there that they couldn't have. But other than that, they have played the top of the lineup extraordinarily well. Could have won some of those games, could not get it done. And that's been the difference between Indiana's season, to be honest with you.
You're right. There's 5 games decided by 5 or less in that stretch, and they didn't get any of them. A couple of them came down to the last minute, last possession. Comes down to leadership and point guard play. When it comes time, you got to have somebody who can make plays at winning time. And they haven't had a guy be able to do that, whether it's missing jump shots or messing up out of bounds plays or whatever it is. They just consistently fall short, which is amazing, though. I looked on Lenardi yesterday when he came out with his bracketology, though, and Indiana's still only 5 spots below the cut line, which if they beat Purdue, I figure they'd have to jump up a couple more spots.
That it continues to blow my mind. Robbie Hellman was on with us yesterday, and he said that the very thing. Well, I think Indiana still has a chance, and I'm like, hey, what are you smoking, man? But truthfully, they do, because you have that Purdue game, but you also have an Oregon game and an Ohio State team that is firmly entrenched in making the NCAA tournament. Although they are under 500 in the Big Ten overall, they're only 15-11, but they've got a net ranking of like 2.
Yeah, I mean, what's going to come back and hurt Indiana though is they don't have any quality non-conference wins. I mean, they might get in. It'll be a play-in game if they do get in, and they're not going to know they're in until till Selection Sunday, unless they have some remarkable run in the Big Ten tournament. But if they beat Purdue, then it's a discussion. Until they beat Purdue, it's kind of a fantasy.
It seems to me that this season obviously has not gone as well as, say, last season did, but they are closer to making it this year for some odd reason. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of bad teams out there. I mean, look at the ACC. There's the bottom of the ACC is not very good. The bottom of the Big East is not very good. And it's so heavily SEC oriented with them getting 13 teams in the league. Even I don't think the Big 12 is as strong as it's been in recent years. And we saw evidence of that with Kansas getting smacked again last night. I read an amazing stat that Kansas, this will be the first time since the year 2000 that Kansas won't be at least a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. How's that for consistency?
Shocking. And of all time, why not? Why now? Then when they should be at the top.
They got Hunter Dickinson. They got Wisconsin's former best player. They got all kind of dudes. They got Flory Badinga. Yeah, it's just not working.
Well, and I was talking with
BYU beat him by like 30 something last night.
So is there any chance that Bill Self, didn't he just sign a gigantic contract extension within the last 2 years?
Yeah, I don't know. He's only 62. I don't think he'll quit yet.
See, I don't either. And that was a discussion earlier today. But Kansas, man, this is the latest team that in this era where everyone, it's all equal now. Everybody can become somebody. And teams like Kansas and Bill Self, they're not used to this. They're like, wow, this is much harder than it was when we were the only ones being able to pay players. It's not so fun anymore. So it is great for college basketball, though. But I still think that people, they want to see the Kansases and the Indianas and the Kentuckys and the North Carolinas be good. But will that eventually just go away with the equality?
I don't think so. As long as those individual programs have the pressure put on them by their fans to succeed, I think those programs will always be strong contenders. That's a lot of ways what separates some of the top programs from the other ones, where the fan bases don't accept mediocrity. Although I say that knowing that Indiana's been mediocre for a while, they keep trying to change coaches and fix that. But it's like when the fans finally give up on it, then you might slip back.
And there is plenty of chatter about the IU coaching position, and there will be nothing but chatter about the coaching position for weeks because I've said it numerous times. There's nothing that's going to change and nothing that's going to come out. It would not be good for Scott Dolson if any information did come out. And so he is going to work extraordinarily hard at that, I think, at doing that. But it all hinges on Dusty May. Whether he says yes, whether he says no, that opens up a Pandora's box of, okay, now what? Well, now where do we go? Is it Mick Cronin? Is it Ben McCollum? Is it the guy from Texas Tech? There are so many different names out there that offer different looks, younger, up and coming, more established. Indiana is going to have a lot of options, I think, this time around, more than they had the last time.
Yeah, last time I remember that was 2021, right? And that wasn't that the year we're coming out of COVID and there weren't like big crowds. There weren't any crowds, hardly any crowds in the stadium. And for whatever reason, as we know, there was a razor sharp focus on Brad Stevens. And then it went to, depending on who you believe, it was Thad Matta next or it was Mike Woodson next. I think back to the time when Archie came. He was hired. I was in Memphis covering Kentucky in the regional, and they got beat by North Carolina. North Carolina went to the Final Four, so we didn't know. It was like the Monday of Final Four week when that broke. So I think we'll be a week or two into the NCAA tournament before we really know anything. Because the odds are you're going to get a coach who's going to be in the NCAA tournament, and then he's going to need a day or two after the tournament's over to tell his people he's leaving and all that stuff. So I don't know. The only thing that I've learned, and I think it's been reported elsewhere too, is that they are using a search firm, Turnkey, which is the same search firm they used when they hired Coach Signetti. And I've talked to people who said it's a highly rated search firm, and that's a wise thing to do. It gives you a chance to. People don't really know who you're talking to or who's talking to them and all that stuff. But we'll see where this goes. It's the same list. The only name that's been knocked off the list so far is what? Brad Stevens?
Yeah. Is Chris Beard's on the list, but I don't know how on the list he really is. He's like a dangling Chad.
Yeah, if you believe people, there are people that steadfastly say that he's a non-starter. There's no way they'll hire him because of his background. And that might be true. But I don't know. We'll see. Seemed like in the last week, maybe Greg McDermott and Buzz Williams gained a little bit of juice. I don't know.
Well, and Mick Cronin, Dylan Sin was on with me earlier, and he thinks that he would not be surprised at all that if in a month or 6 weeks from now, Mick Cronin was the coach at Indiana. Obviously,
why does he think
he's
that?
not happy at UCLA. Number one, the NIL situation out there sucks,
Right.
and so you've
and their
got
crowd's
that.
not very good. They're only drawing like 6,000 a game.
And he's a Midwest guy. He's from this, as you know, he's from this area, or from he coached at Cincinnati. He's very familiar with Louisville. And this is more of an area that is drawn in. Plus, it's Indiana, and he knows, I think, that it's a sleeping giant waiting to be awoken with all the resources they have. But as we've seen, North Carolina, Kansas, not doing all that well. They have great resources as well. So you can put it all together, and it doesn't always mean it's going to be kumbaya. But I think he would probably like a shot at a program like that.
Could be. Mick's a really good coach who was trained by two of the best coaches in the business. First, Bob Huggins at Cincinnati, and then Rick Pitino at Louisville. And he went to Murray State, which is a job that a lot of coaches have won at. And he won there and quickly moved on to Cincinnati. He was at Cincinnati for a long, long time, had decent success, not great success in the NCAA tournament. And then he got to UCLA. What was he, maybe the 4th or 5th pick? He was way down the line. And he's done well there. I like Mick. I think Mick would win at Indiana. But the thing that always comes back to with Mick is I think the buyout's $10 million or a little bit it's going to be 10 million as of April 1st or something. That's,
Yep.
I don't know if IU's into paying 10 million to get a coach.
I think that unless there's only a couple that they can get, that won't be at least 8 million. I mean, Dusty May is one of those that's Chris Beard's one of those. There's a few others, the lower names, but you start getting up to Buzz Williams and those guys, they're up there between 8 and 12 million between there. So I think they're going to end up having to pay this time around, which that's another, I don't know how much of a factor it is, to be honest with you, because they'll, after they buy out Mike Woodson, they will be up to around $60 million in buyouts over the last decade. 60 million. It's just,
now what is that? Is that Crean, Archie?
Yeah,
Woodson,
Crean wasn't much, but you
Tom
got
Allen.
Archie Miller, and yes, and Tom was the biggest one, and his was negotiated down $5 million. They saved $5 million off of that one. But the good thing with Woodson is they can spread that one out. But it's going to cost money. But they didn't make the decisions when they probably should have made the decisions, or the right decisions weren't made when they should have made them. So this is what it cost. It cost them on the other side. But there are so many names out there. Who are some other viable names that you think, whether it's Ben McCollum or whomever, that really have a shot? Because we look at Kentucky and Louisville, and they didn't get their first guys. And so it's likely that Indiana is not going to get their first guy, which is Dusty May.
I saw Vitale threw out Tony Bennett yesterday. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't know. Nobody ever talks about Randy Bennett of St. Mary's, but he's a little older, and he's always been on the West Coast. I'm not sure that would be a good pick. Chris Johns, the guy at Mississippi State, he's a pretty good coach. I don't know if he's somebody that they would think about or consider.
He's doing a hell of a job. Someone mentioned him earlier that he has swept Ole Miss and Chris Beard this year, but he's just done a heck of a job, period. And the good thing about Mississippi coaches is Mississippi, the state, only allows 4-year contracts. So that kind of keeps those numbers down lower.
Yeah. I mean, he's considered a good coach. Chris Collins is another one we've talked about. Some people like that. Some people are immediately, saying they can't do that because he's not been a huge winner, but you have to put it in the context of where he's been. I like his personality. I think his teams play hard. There really isn't. I asked a friend of mine involved with the Louisville program to come up with the Pat Kelsey of the of 2025, and I think he named, I got to find the text message, I think he named the coach at App State and one other guy, which I don't know if IU could hire the coach at App State.
That would be that would certainly be something. But you do have a list of guys that, how about Mark Byington, which he's at Vanderbilt, formerly of James Madison, worked with Kurt Cignetti, although Kurt Cignetti has nothing to do with that. That would be some irony there.
He's done a good job. He plays Kentucky tonight in Rupp Arena, so if he wins that game, he becomes a hotter candidate. He's beaten he beat Tennessee and Kentucky in Nashville, so I don't know enough about him to know how good of a coach he is, but again, I mean, that's not really any different than some of these guys that moved last year. Is a guy going to walk away from a Power 5 job in the SEC after one season? I don't know. Some coaches just aren't going to walk away from something like that in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, and Indiana is still a draw. Don't get me wrong. It's not the draw that it used to be, probably, because you can do it anywhere now. But Indiana does offer things that you can't get at a lot of other places, but it also brings some things that other places don't bring on the negative side as well. So it kind of balances out. But at the end of the day, it is a blue blood program. It is an opportunity to to breathe new life into a blue blood program. I don't know if that is a challenge that certain guys look forward to or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that anybody who doesn't look forward to that should even consider it, because it's not going away. It's not going to change. If you come in and coach Indiana, you have to accept that, and you have to embrace it, and you have to turn it into a positive by being, Crean, I thought, handled it great. I mean, he in terms of being the face of the program, he did a good job. He showed up. I can remember there was a situation down in Jeffersonville where they needed to raise money for after-school sports programs. So they invited like Jeff Walls, the Louisville women's basketball coach, Robbie Valentine. There was somebody else in Crean, and he came down to Jeffersonville and appeared at a fundraiser for 2 hours and stayed afterwards and signed every autograph. There was a fundraiser once, I think at Henryville after the tornado, and he came to that and stayed forever. I mean, he got it. He considered that part of the job. You're one of the most recognizable and well-known people in the entire state. You can go anywhere from Gary to Fort Wayne to Evansville to Jennings County, and people are going to know you're the basketball coach at IU. And so that was a major part of Archie's downfall, I thought, because he ran from that. And you're not going to win that. People want to feel like they're connected to the IU basketball coach.
Oh, without question. And Tom Crean almost relished in it.
Yes, he did.
I mean, the stories of helping somebody change a tire in the snow. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy but true stories.
Well, remember when the young woman disappeared in Bloomington, Lauren Spire? I mean, he was heavily involved in searches for that. I mean, he was part of the community. He was involved in his church in Bloomington. He would go to high school events because his son was an baseball player, and I think for a while he might have even been a basketball player at Bloomington North, I think it was. I mean, he was out in the community.
Yeah, and the community misses that, but the school misses that too, because when you have someone that has that connection, it's palpable. Whether you see it or not, you see it, you feel it, you hear it, you know it. It's there, and I don't know. Is that because we're in a different era? Has that left? Has that gone away?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it comes down to personality and somebody's comfort zone and in doing that stuff and giving up some of their free time to go out and embrace some of that stuff. So you don't have to do it to the lengths that Tom Crean did it, but you can't hide from it the way Archie Miller did. I mean, he would go to high school games and he almost gave off the impression of like, don't bother me. Don't come over here and ask for a picture. Don't come over here and ask for an autograph. I don't want to do it.
He gave that same vibe off to the media.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
At least he talked to Fish, though.
Well, there is that.
What's your thought? I listened to the pregame show the other night, and he sent out Isaac Green to do the pregame show.
Who is Isaac Green?
Isaac Green's like a GA, or he's like a analytics guy or something. And one game before, I think it had been Calvert, they did the pregame show. Fish interviewed, I don't know whether they usually interview players or not, but on Friday night, the interviews were a student manager and Isaac Green.
What I don't understand is what is he afraid to talk about? The pregame is usually about the game.
I think he's not happy with Fish. That's what it's all about. This is
who is he not happy? Who's he not unhappy with?
I agree, but I mean that again. I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't like Fish. So,
well, of course not.
You're not gonna win that one. I mean, Fish isn't somebody who goes out and attacks people. I mean, Fish is as pro IU as anybody, but I mean, he sees what he sees. He knows what he knows.
That just shows more of if you don't agree with me, well, then you're wrong, because I'm just right about everything and you're not.
It's the insecurity of the man.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company's studios on this Wednesday, joined by the great Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Make sure you're giving him, Rick, a follow and keeping up with all things at WDRB. They're at how are things at the station? How's Mr. Crawford?
He's doing well. He's doing really well. So it's been a remarkable season to cover Louisville this year. They beat Notre Dame the other night and made Micah Shrewsbury very angry. And did you see his temper tantrum?
No, but I know things are not going all that well in Notre Dame.
Yeah, it was a cold, snowy night, and I don't know what the crowd was, maybe 6,000. And multiple people have told me that Louisville might not have had more fans, but they had a substantial number of fans, and they were louder than Notre Dame fans. And Shrewsbury was unhappy about that, and he ripped his fans for losing faith in Notre Dame and losing faith in him, and said they were going to get it turned around, they were going to be good, and when they are good, don't come back.
Hey, yeah, that sounds familiar.
And then the last thing he did was took his right hand, I think it was his right hand, it might have been his left, I don't know, and knocked the microphone down on the press conference table and walked away. You need to watch it.
I will. That's very un-Micah.
I know. That's what was surprising about it. The longer he talked, the madder he got. And I think from what it sounds like, he really made him mad that Louisville had more fans in the building than Notre Dame did. And I just would say to him, ripping your fans is never a good thing, because people do not forget.
Nope. And when you tell them not to come back, they'll be like, okay, I can handle that. So
what do you think it's going to be like in the Ohio State game on Senior Day? How's that going to be? Because last year it didn't go very well.
Very interesting. First of all, I want to know, does Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal go through the same ceremony again?
Yeah, I would think they would. Yeah.
I mean, then are they going to become then the first two Indiana basketball players in the history of Indiana basketball to have two Senior Day speeches? Why you do that? If you've already done it, you're no longer a senior. You're a grad student. So I'm sorry, you've already had your moment in the sun. Get the hell out of the way. You did it already. I'm done.
Who else will be? Hatton will be he's a senior. Balo's a senior. Anybody else? I don't think there is there?
No, but anybody that Mike can run out there to tweet to tout his virtues as the great coach and the great reason why. Well, I don't know why what, but yeah, it gets almost embarrassing when people do things, and I'm like, do you not realize that people see through that facade? It's almost
that happens when you don't have anybody around you who can tell you the truth and say, don't do that, and listen to them. Let me explain to you why that's not a good idea, to call out real Indiana fans. Let me explain to you why one of your players shouldn't tell people they need to chill. Let me explain to you why, one of them shouldn't say we're going to run it back. They've ran it back, and it's been sort of a jog back, and it hasn't been any better. And
it not only did not get better, but they still have not. I don't know that they have a set lineup right now. They still don't have. It's like, well, if this guy's around, we're going to do this. There has been so little continuity with this team out of the four, which that's saying a lot, but I'm talking about little to no continuity, and all of the guys that were supposed to be this and supposed to be that, maybe they are, but it is either they forgot how to do that, or playing at Indiana under a certain regime has taken that away from them, because the talent disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the team we thought it was going to be in terms of what the record is, but in terms of how it was going to fit together. I think it was pretty obvious at the beginning of the year it was supposed to be Rice, Carlisle, Mbako, Renew, and Ballo. And a lot of people said in advance that those three big men together wouldn't work because they got in each other's way, and none of them could really drive the ball, or they weren't good attacking with the ball. And two of them were low post players. And Carlisle has been a colossal disappointment, where he went through a 5-game stretch where he didn't even play, and he got in the other night and made a shot, but he's an afterthought. And now Leal's become front and center. Good, he's gotten a lot more time. Tucker early in the year I thought was going to get more time, but as the year's gone on, he's gotten a little bit less. So, you're 25 games in and you still don't know what your best team is.
It's a rather amazing. And you're still getting answers like, I wish I knew.
Or like, I'll never blame my players, but I didn't let that thing and I didn't do that. It's like, wow. Do you not realize how that sounds?
Nope. Without question, there's no way he does. But Indiana, that's running its course, and you've got 5 regular season games left, and at least 1 Big Ten tournament game. So the tenure could be just 6 games yet to play. I know Indiana fans would probably like to see. Oh, I have a question for you.
Okay.
This crown tournament that Fox is a big part of. How does the implication of being a Big Ten team that's able to play in that and receives an invitation to play in that, are you expected to play in that as a Big Ten team?
I think I've read that you can't turn it down. Your league is contractually committed to the top 2 teams that don't make the NCAA tournament to play in that tournament, and you've got to play in it. So I don't think it's an option.
Wow. Since Woody won't do the shows with the Fish, I'm wondering if he'll show up for the Crown tournament. Say, yeah, no, I'm done.
Didn't he send Kenya Hunter out to do the radio show Monday night? I think he did.
Yeah, he's still getting paid for it. And what amazes me, though, is he's the one getting paid for that stuff.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's Fantasy Island. Whatever they do with the new coach, they need to have it in the contract of this is what you will do, period.
Well, you wouldn't have to do that because most people have the sense and the courtesy to follow the mandates. But it's like he feels like he has been wronged.
Oh, he does.
He's the one that has been wronged. And it's not him that has not gotten the job done. It's not him that hasn't done what he said was going to do. It's not him that has said all the things that were going to happen, and none of that transpired. It's crazy how someone can be that lost in reality.
Well, I mean, Monday night when he was on the radio show, I believe that Kenya Hunter said if they rally and make the tournament, that means it'll be 3 times in 4 years they've made the tournament. That's really pretty good. And it's like, no, it's really not very good because you barely made it the first year and won the play-in game and got drilled by St. Mary's. You did make it the second year and beat Kent State and then got drilled by Miami. And then last year you don't make it. And then this year, if you do make it, it's going to be the play-in game. I mean, that's not the standard at Indiana.
No, and that's the thing. These guys, they either think that they're either just not going to get called out on stuff or that people are just not smart enough. I don't know which it is to know the difference between what they're saying, but it's almost a slap in the face to people when you do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lack of understanding of where you're at and what the program is and what the expectations are. I mean, or you think you're going to be able to change the narrative in your favor, and it's not going to happen. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, a lot of this, it's what's happened has been driven by the fans. I mean, the fans booing them at that Illinois game was a big moment in what's going to happen to Mike Woodson. And then the continued unhappiness after they got beat a couple of other games. I don't remember what it was, at Purdue or someone. And then they came home to play Michigan. I think it's safe to say that IU didn't want another ugly incident at the Michigan game, and that was spelled out in the press release that when Mike Woodson was leaving, that's what drove the decision to be made then. So the administration gets it, that the fan base is very, very unhappy and expects more, but Mike Woodson doesn't.
No doubt about that. And speaking of the fan base and the coaching search, there is a big disconnect between who will probably get this job and who a big portion of the fans. Chris Beard is high on the fans' wish list.
Yeah, he is.
And I don't see that happening. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but I don't think that it does. But he is probably the highest of the available guys on that list, if I was being honest.
Ahead of Dusty?
Oh, so on the Hoosier.com, we ran a poll and it was shocking. I was like, wow. Dusty was like 17%. Chris Beard was at like 40.
Yeah, I mean,
for some reason, people don't think Dusty May has proven himself, or a lot of people don't, which I find that as a joke. I'm like, okay, you don't know anything about which you speak of if you think a guy who took an FAU team to the Final Four, then moves to Michigan, which was horrible last year.
They won 8 games last year.
Yeah, 8 total. And now they are leading and probably going to win the Big Ten. Pretty good. Pretty good.
So good that you're probably not going to be able to hire him because Michigan's going to give him a boatload of money and he's going to stay there.
Yeah.
So that's silly. You know, we've said this almost every week I've been on with you, but this was unfortunately mishandled a year ago. People who really had a grasp of what the situation was knew which way this was going. I think there was some encouragement to get Mike Woodson to retire. He didn't. Came out publicly and said he'd be back. Talked about he had the support from the guys at Cook and was going to get players. They should have made the move last year. Dusty was plug and play, ready to go. The recruiting probably would have turned out better. You'd have your coach for the foreseeable future.
And
now
guess where you'd probably be sitting at number 1 in the Big Ten right now.
Of course. Yeah. Because of Mike Woodson's stubbornness and the people around him, it didn't happen, and Indiana's paying the price for it.
Yeah,
went blank true, in my opinion.
Yeah, most places, if it were a business, it's so odd how business-like these things are, but unbusiness-like they are ran. If a business is not succeeding, they're going to get rid of the guy who's not doing the job, and they're going to do it when they need to do it. For whatever reason, there's this optics thing that comes into play with Indiana or whatever, and that's not there for a regular business. I don't really get that anymore. It's about winning now. I understand optics to a degree and for certain things still, but at the end of the day, you've got to put your program, whatever it is that you're in charge of, in the best position you can of doing what they're supposed to do. And that has not been the case for Indiana basketball.
I mean, for sure. Let's be honest. Last year when they got run off the floor by UConn, run off the floor by Auburn, run off the floor by Nebraska in the last game of the year of the Big Ten tournament, beat 3 times by Nebraska, beat twice by Penn State. I don't really – anybody could look at that and say this isn't working. And it's probably not going to work. It's going the wrong direction. And I guess because he still had 3 years left on his contract and he's a former IU basketball player and he had the backing of very important people, Dolson wasn't able to get it done. But that was an error.
Yes, it certainly was. What is up? Oh, also the Big Ten and the SEC, they're getting together
right now,
big brother meeting going to determine the college football playoffs going forward. But I don't know that anything's going to happen yet. But they're basically meeting to decide whether or not they're going to demand. Greg Sankey is in essence deciding whether or not he's going to tell Tony Petitti that we're going to demand 4 guaranteed playoff spots, which nobody that I have talked to is in favor of that. Nobody likes it except Greg Sankey.
If the SEC gets 4, doesn't the Big Ten have to get 4?
Oh, yes, without question.
So then the rest of college football gets to fight over the other 4?
Yes. Or they're going to make them increase it to 16 so they get their 4 and y'all can have whatever.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. I guess
Well,
you would have to increase it to 16 and eliminate the bye games.
yeah, but
well, you didn't ever think the SEC was going to accept what happened to them last year without doing something. I mean, they weren't happy.
Yeah, let's change the rules. We sucked, so let's change the rules.
What's the spotlight and the pressure is going to be on them in the NCAA tournament because they're getting 13 teams in, and people are saying they could get 3 teams or 4 teams in the Final Four. So we'll see how they perform. They perform great in the non-conference.
They have 3 number 1 seeds right now.
Yeah,
Florida really
Florida.
skyrocketed up there. Todd Golden, unfortunately, $14+ million buyout. He's off the table, people. Off the table. What is up next for you?
Louisville's home Saturday against Leonard Hamilton. His farewell tour comes to the Yum Center. Kentucky's got Vandy tonight and at Alabama Saturday, and the Hoosiers are against the Boilermakers on Sunday, right? What time is that game on Sunday?
That's a good question. I do not know. If I had to guess it, I would say noon, but I don't know, so don't go by that.
Okay.
We'll have to pull it up, and it take me about 2 seconds to get to that as I look and see that Indiana is heading to play. Daggone it. I wish I saw the date. 1:30. It's 1:30.
Okay.
CBS game.
Probably, right?
Yeah,
okay.
CBS game. So the big boys. We'll certainly find out. Hey, make sure you're giving Rick Bozich a follow and keeping up with all his great coverage of college basketball. Appreciate you, sir. See you soon.
Have a great week, Jim.
You as well, brother. Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.